with our Fearless Flight Live. What can you expect if you take the Clear for Takeoff 201 and 301 classes with us? That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to do it with a special guest who actually went through the classes, and she's had some time. She's actually flown a couple of times since that. So we're gonna talk about that. What's it really like? I had an elite coaching class over the weekend, and one of the things that came up was she said, you know, it's nice to listen to people who've gone through the program and all, but sometimes I get a sense that I can't compete with them because they seem like they got it all together. And so we're going to get some real honest testimony tonight, because not that you should be discouraged or anything, but it really is. It's a process. So anyway, hey, and I am Capt Ron. Welcome to Fearless Flight Live. This is our weekly show for anybody who has a fear of flying, or if you know and love somebody who's afraid to fly. And of course, if you just want to hang out with us and talk about aviation, we like that too. Our goal is to help you change the way you think about flying, because the difference between you and me sitting right next to each other, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat. You're thinking about how miserable you're feeling at the time. So welcome to tonight's show. Tonight with me again, longtime friend and fellow Captain Eric Larson. Yo, Eric. And with me as well as our favorite first officer and fearless at Fearless Flight, and our ace wingman, Chief Technical Officer Dieter Staudinger.
Hey guys.
Here with back from baseball again, right? Tuesday night's baseball night. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're going to be talking about the upcoming 201 class in Phoenix on July 20th. We got some poll questions that we're going to ask you again, so you can pop in there and leave us an answer on that. And we want to always remember that if you have not clicked on our page and become a follower, we wish you would do that. And more importantly, if you want, please, and you haven't done so yet, please to follow us on Facebook, as I mentioned, and go over to our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather Facebook group. Make sure you introduce yourself and participate in the group by asking questions and sharing your story, your experiences, and any resources or articles that as you help support yourself and others as they prepare to fly. So first thing, let's take a look at the we got a new feature tonight. One of the things we want to mention is if you are out there and you want to give it a try, we have not done this yet. We didn't get to it last week. We are going to try the live call-in feature. So if you want, you can call in on one of these two numbers here, and then you can see at the bottom. So you call either one of those numbers, and you'll come into the software that we're using. And down below, you need to call the number, and then it's going to ask you for a webinar ID, and you punch in that webinar ID, and then you'll be live on the air. So we would love to have some live questions, make it a little even more engaging and exciting. So if you got a question that comes up anytime during tonight or while the guest is on or anything like that, please don't hesitate. So let's look at that poll questions that came up with after flying this weekend. This is a distinction we make a lot. And so the first one is, what bothers me most about flying is answer A is something going wrong with the airplane. That's what we call a technical trigger. I'm more worried about the mechanics of the airplane and the airplane not performing like it's supposed to. And B would be feeling trapped once the door closes. And that's more of an emotional trigger. And the first one, the A, so you just pick one there. We just like to have you do that. And we'll give you a couple of seconds.
Just put it in the comments as you're watching.
Yeah, put it in the comments and where we welcome anything you want to put in there. Ask us questions during the course of the show or anything like that. We're just taking a look and see, because I know the numbers have switched over the years, and I won't say in which direction between these two, but they definitely, if you stick with us and certainly if you come to the classes, you'll find out the differences between those people who are primarily triggered by the technical triggers in A, or B by the emotional triggers there.
So far we got a couple of B's.
Okay.
And one A. So Jim said A, and then Grace said B, and we also have Karen Acuna, B all the way. So
yeah, and you know, fear of flying sucks. So you both, no matter which way you get triggered, we all end up in the same place, and that's just feeling miserable about flying. But you need to make sure that in your recovery and in working through this, that you have a program that deals with both of those triggers. And that's one of the things that we do in the 201. We make the distinction between those triggers, and so you can identify tools and strategies to help you cope with your anxiety. So how about putting the second one up there, Dieter? This is another one that I run into over the thing. People when they show up and they have their fear of flying. I'm not seeing it on the screen yet. I don't know if it's going out or.
Oh, I think I may not have shared it. Hold on, give me a second.
Okay.
So just keep talking. I'll just put it up.
Yeah. So one of the things is when people come to me or come to us and talk about overcoming their fear of flying, you know, I used to think, oh, they just, you know, it just showed up. No, most of the time, the average person has had their fear. They've lived with it for quite some time. And so we just wanted to get a feel for those of you watching tonight. I lived with my fear for how many years before I sought help? So if you can remember that or come up with an educated guess as to how long your fear of flying bothered you, and that's according to your definition of bother. And then before you decided to go seek help, because the many people, very few people, in fact, you know, decide that they've got a fear of flying and then seek help immediately. It's unfortunate because the longer you go without seeking help, the more deeply entrenched it becomes for most people. So, anybody popping in any answers there, Dieter?
Yeah. So Michelle said that the poll question number 1B is her biggest issue.
Yeah.
And then I wanna, hey, Andrew Yates, big shout out. Andrew went with his dad. They came to the 201 class last year, June or September. I can't remember which one. Andrew might put it in there. And Andrew just successfully flew all the way to Spain on a trip with his dad, and I think your school.
And he's going to come and visit us too, right?
Yep.
On the 201, he's going to show up for it. So we're really looking forward to seeing you, Andrew.
So that's great, because at the 201 class, what we do is at the towards the end of the class, we actually have a panel, you know, of graduates and people that you know, really have put into action all the things that we're teaching in the class. And then they come back and kind of share their own experience. And the real value is that you as the student in the class get to ask, you know.
Because they're the experts.
Yeah, exactly. They went through the experts. They went through it.
And that was really one of the most popular features when we did that in the March class over there. So, okay.
And, so far, Jim Duke is leading the years to the poll question. How many years have I lived with my fear? So Jim has 31 years.
Yeah.
And that's just Karen.
Over the years, when I did a survey years ago, the average was 10. So most people live with it for about 10 years or so.
So I guess between Karen, who her answer is 2, and Michelle's answer was 6. So I guess. Okay. Between the three of them, we average out to the 10.
There you go. Okay, so we got our resident comedian in training here. Eric Larson is going to talk to us now about, you know, everybody's dreams about being able to sleep if you have a fear of flying on an airplane. Well, Eric's got a story about when that wasn't the best solution or the best time to sleep. So take it, Eric.
So, hey, Sosi, can you still hear me?
Yeah, Sosi can hear. Sosi can hear you.
She's got her microphone on.
Yes, I can.
I got one quick question to ask you. When we flew from Burbank up to Sacramento and back, did you sleep on the way back, or were you wide awake the whole way?
Oh, I was wide awake.
I remember you were wound up pretty good on the outbound leg, but about 7 or 8 people of the class were racked out. So what I want to tell everybody about tonight is, and
hey,
honestly,
I want to emphasize that for anybody who might have missed that, Eric. You got so stoked that when you saw all those people sleeping on the way back, we labeled them all just attention seekers, right? Because yeah.
I mean, absolutely, they were just hustling us the whole time. They probably lost 20 pounds each in fear and nervousness after defeating the monster in their head to get on the airplane, and then they come back on the way back to Sacramento, and I'm fighting to stay awake, and they're out cold. I mean, it was all I could do not to blow up a paper bag next to them and wham, just because I'm that kind of person. So you cannot make up stuff to truth being stranger than fiction, and it really is. And I know of all the things, you people are very clever at thinking up all kinds of disasters that are going to happen to you. The airplane will plummet, the wing bolt will have black mold, the airplane will go really high, and a space monster will get it with the tentacles and shake the tar out of it. But we have never had a class where people go, what if I fall asleep on the airplane and nobody ever finds me again? Nobody has ever asked that in class. So, and Dieter can correct me if I'm wrong in this, and I think I remember most of the details. It was about 2 or 3 days ago, an airliner is flying from Quebec City over to Toronto, about an hour and a half flight, not that long. And a woman passenger on the flight was doing normal passenger stuff, curled up in the corner by a window, reading a book, and decided she'd rack out for a little bit. She was a little tired, put the book away. And I don't know if she was wearing a camo outfit or had an airplane blanket to cover herself with. She obviously wasn't very big, but she curled up in a little ball by the window and went to sleep for the rest of the flight so she'd be fresh for when she landed. Well, after a while, she started to get cold and quite cold and chilly, and noticed, kind of woke up to see what was going on. And when she woke up to see what was going on, the airplane was dark. It had already landed. All the rest of the passengers and the crew had left the normal way through the jetway, walked up into the terminal, and then the mechanics of the ramp guys had come down, hooked up a tug to the nose tire, pulled the jetway back, and pushed the airplane back out onto an area of the ramp to park it for overnight parking, to keep it clear of the jetway. So she was sleeping all by herself on the airplane, parked on a remote area of the ramp. And on the surface, it's funny, but it's really not if you put yourself in her shoes. She says she was fighting back a panic attack, which I'm sure was true. So the first thing she did was pick up her cell phone and try and call her peeps and call 911 and some other appropriate parties, which she did. And her cell phone promptly died. So it was of no more use than a paperweight. And she still kept her faculties about her in the dark airplane, and wandered up to the cockpit, which was a good idea, and found an emergency flashlight up there, and was able to open a door, an entry door, which fortunately was disarmed. And we've reviewed what happens when they're armed on previous shows. But she opened a disarmed entry door and swung it back and stood in the entry door and started shining the light up and down on the fuselage of the airplane, which was a very good idea. And so the ramp people driving around, the mechanics after a while said, man, there's some freaking ghost in that airplane lighting it up from inside. We better drive over there and tug and see what's going on. So they drove over there and found that the poor woman was still on the airplane. And they were able to get her out and send her on her way and everything else. And hopefully she's not too traumatized.
Yeah.
You're saying to yourself, hey, self, how could that happen? It is the responsibility of the crew, particularly the flight attendants on a terminating flight, to make sure that the aircraft is empty of all passengers. And they have to look in the labs, and they look in the overhead bins, and they look in the seat back pockets and all the other clever places that you think of to hide. But obviously they missed this woman and went too fast. And she was unaware of the other people disembarking. I have never heard of this happening before, nor have I heard buddies, friends, anything else. Once in a great while, there'll be a passenger that we find that's sleeping that has not got up. And So when all the crew is standing there waiting to go, the flight attendants will gently prod them and say something sweet like, "You're reducing my layover time," very loudly, a foot or two from their ear, to wake them up so that they can then get off with the rest of us. But this was a pretty unique situation. This woman handled it, but I thought really well.
So keep your cell phones charged just in case.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some rope
right.
handy in case you have to let yourself down 40 feet from.
What even more amazing is that there's at least one mechanic usually gets up in the cockpit there while they're pushing it back and stuff, and he didn't notice either. So she must have been.
Sure, yeah. It's
way
just
back
all through the racket and all that kind of stuff. It is amazing.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So she's got a story to tell.
And Heather says there is no way you would catch her napping. There's no chance of her staying on the plane once it's landed. So
yeah. So she probably wasn't afraid before, but now she might have some issues about abandonment and all that. So, which is another webinar. So
this is not,
all right.
As we mentioned, not high up on our people's stress list of what freaks them out most about flying. Yep.
Yep. There you go. Okay. Well, tonight I mentioned we have a special guest, Sosi Parsegian. I'm so sorry, Sosi. I misspelled your name. I made you a special cheese. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was joking with myself earlier today. Her name is Sosi Parsegian, as in the old football coach or Notre Dame.
Sosi, just turn your video on. So yeah,
hello.
I'll get to see you. Hi.
Do you still have your media consultants there with you? Are they standing by?
No, I shooed them away.
Oh man, your kids are so much fun, and they were so excited to see you do all this. So anyway,
yes.
So you took our 201 and 301 classes on March 23rd back in Burbank, and you consented to come on here and talk about your experiences. And tonight I just want to kind of talk a little bit more. Of course, first tell us your story. You know, about your fear flying, when and how and when did you notice it, and how did it affect your life before that?
So total years were 15 years that I had not flown. And just after I had kids, I just kind of stopped flying, got afraid. Just the idea of getting on an airplane was really frightening. So had you
flown before then, Sosi?
Yes.
Okay.
All around, alone, long flights.
Yeah.
It was never a problem before kids.
Right.
Yeah.
and then when you realized it, then did you just kind of back out of it, or didn't even try for a while, or you know?
Yeah, I think I just gave up, and it was whenever my husband mentioned flying, I kept saying no. So I think eventually he gave up, and he would fly places on his own, and then now that the kids are older, I want to travel and see the world through their eyes, and all that stuff. So,
and there's a little bit of a backstory, which was interesting, because before this, I having gotten to know you guys, you and Armin, you met through was it his father or
my father?
Your father, that's
my
right.
Father, yeah.
You kind of played matchmaker, and you had to go to Jordan during the courtship, right? So I mean, it was like no small deal. And
so from LA to London, that's what, 11, 12 hours. Yeah. And then another 6-7 hours to Jordan. And I would do this alone like 5-6 times before we got married. So yeah.
And so then what changed? What was the impetus that said, okay, I gotta get over this?
I think it was just the kids getting older, and our friends and families, everybody was traveling as a family, and we weren't. Everywhere we would go had to be with a car. So after a while, that got boring, because it would just be like a 2-hour car drive. And I want them to experience, a lot of different places and visit family in other states and other countries.
So did you find the class online or through word of mouth? How'd you hear about the class?
I found it online. I was just Googling and just messing around. And then every time I would type in fear of flying, your name would pop up and your class would, show up. And I watched some of the YouTube videos, and then I had emailed you, and that's how we got in touch. And then I signed up for the March class.
Okay, cool. And then when you show up for the class that day, what was it like when you the night before and the morning of the class? Because you signed up to to fly with us at the end in the 301, right?
Yes,
So
I
you're
did.
gonna do the whole enchilada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had emailed a few times back and forth, and my
Right.
fear was, what if I came that day and I wanted to fly and I didn't have my ticket? So I just thought, I'm just buying it and, you know, hoping that I'm going to do it. So I asked my husband to come with me as well, and he agreed, which was great to have that support.
Yeah.
So, but even coming there that morning, I did not have the intention of flying.
I was going to say, so being really honest, you bought
Yeah.
the ticket just in case, because I think I talked about that in some,
Yes.
when we did some webinars and stuff. I told people, you know, it's terrible if you come and you go through the class and then you don't have a ticket and you
Right.
wanted to fly. So you, bless your heart, you had the courage to do that. But
Yeah.
most people are like you. When you show up, it's like, okay, I got the ticket, but you don't see me using it today, right?
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
whole car ride to the class, I kept telling my husband, now don't do anything funny because I'm not going on that plane. Don't trick me on, you know, we're just going to the class.
Right. One
So
step
he's like,
at a
okay,
time.
okay.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
showed up, bless your heart, and you know, just quickly, you know, how was the class for you? What was
Oh,
it
the
like?
class
What do
was
you remember? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great to see all those people there. I think I said before, I thought I'd be the only one and maybe one other person, but walking in and seeing that there's others like me who has the same fear, and that took the edge off right there. And you don't feel so dumb and little, you know?
And we had that class, we had over 50 people, and I think about 40 of them were actual fearful flyers, and the other 10 were support spouses and friends and things like that. So, yeah. And that is what a lot of people comment on. They can't believe that there are so many people like that, because everybody thinks that they're the only one. It's a difficult thing when you're suffering from some kind of an emotional, you know, malady or anxiety like that. You think that you're not only the only one, but you think you're the worst.
Yes.
Actually, let's ask all of you who are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, or Twitter, because that's, I mean, it takes so much courage, Sosi, to come on and say that, you know, I thought that I was the only one, and it's kind of like this. It's not dumb. It's, you know, that's what that fear, that shame part will do to kind of keep us in its misguided wisdom. We think it keeps us safe, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we're missing out on life, because one of the things that I remember you telling was actually the story of going on the bus all across the country. I mean, this is, I mean,
oh yeah.
so if anybody can put into the comments if they ever felt like they were the only one, or they felt like, you know, other people, you know, they just somehow they can deal with it, and but you can't. If you ever felt that way, just put it in the comments. And
also put in there, if you're taking a bus or a train, what's the longest trip you've ever taken to avoid flying? We'd love to hear that.
But yours was pretty long, right, Sosi?
Oh, from Los Angeles to New York, and then from New York to Toronto to visit my in-laws, and then from Toronto back to Los Angeles.
And
it's
how
terrible.
old were your kids? How old were your kids?
No, they flew. They're the smart ones.
Okay, so you actually were the. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I convinced my parents and my brother to do the bus ride with me, but my children and my husband flew because I wasn't going to put them through that.
We love your mom, but not that much. Yeah. Okay. So you got through the class in the morning.
Yes.
And what, you know, how were you feeling about the flight? You know, did it change during the class, or you know, what would take us through that?
Even just midway, I mean, the most impact moment was when I stepped foot on that mock airplane, and I guess I'm sure I had like some tears coming out, because just thinking, even now I feel like, wow, 15 years I have not stepped foot on this thing, where before it was not a big deal. So that was nice to have that, where you can actually see the inside of the airplane again. And then going through all, you know, the classes, that was amazing. You guys are so open and caring and not judgmental, and just even everyone in class, everyone's, you know, just listens and gives everyone a chance to talk and tell their story. And then when we broke for lunch, I remember my husband you know, he was quiet the whole time, I have to say. I'm proud of him. And he said, well, Sosi, I don't want to start this process again. Like, you're halfway through this. Like, let's please do the flight today. I thought, here we go again.
Here comes the sales pitch.
Yeah. The salesman in him. I'm like, I don't know yet. So I don't know. I think it was, honestly, I think it's just being around with everyone gave me that push. And the panelists, when they gave their story at the end, it just gives you that courage to just do it.
I remember going through parachute training and we jumped with the static line and they said, what was that like? I said, well, the guy in front of me went and the guy in the back of me went. I was somewhere in between. So, so maybe that was a little bit of what you had going for you.
Yes.
So, anyway, so we eventually, when it came time, we ended the class. Was it just kind of like that? Well, okay, let's at least go to the airport, because I encourage people to go to the airport, get on the airplane at least. And if you need to get off, get off, but at least go through that. Okay.
Yes. So I wanted to at least try all that. And I just kept going with the flow.
There you go. There you go.
It's scary though.
Yeah, it is scary. And that's the part we want to just touch on here tonight. So it is scary because it's not going to be an overnight change in your anxiety.
No, it's not.
But you have confidence and you have a few tools that you could practice, and the more you do it, the better it'll get. So when we actually got to the point where you had to either get off or stay on, were you still weighing that possibility?
No, I think I felt okay at that point.
Okay.
I felt good. Yeah.
Okay.
And
was there a challenging part of the flight? Anything in particular, or did it just kind of flow for you?
I think it's like a big adrenaline. I mean, there's just wow moments, like, wow, I'm doing this. But of course, I think just being there with you and the crew and the staff, it just helps. Yeah. It was just, I wasn't alone.
And that is a strategy. Social engagement is a bona fide strategy and it helps for some of us when we didn't get the bonding that we needed from caregivers growing up, and experiences in life. So that was cool. And then I tell people, you're not going to believe by the time you get to, in this case, Sacramento and get off the airplane, coming back is going to be almost like a no-brainer. And would you say that was true for you as well? Yeah.
And you're just excited to keep doing it because you want, me now, I think I need a lot more practice.
Yeah.
But it helps.
Yeah, and so we did that. We came back. We had a little celebration there with everybody, and we do some certificates and all that. And then you had a chance to fly, right? And not too long after that. And what was that like?
Oh, it was exciting because it was my first flight with my kids and my husband. That all four of us were together on an airplane.
And you had two cheerleaders that we saw. They're your media consultants, right? I mean, they were like pulling for you the whole way, right? Well, they're selfish. They don't want to have the bus ever, but
They were, but I was texting you too before, remember, that morning?
Yes. Yep.
So you were helping me along the way there.
Yeah.
My husband noticed once my biggest fear, I was perfectly fine until it was ready for takeoff. Doors were closed, that didn't bother me. But when I actually realized, we're taking off, this is it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, of course, all these thoughts in my mind were, get off, sit down, don't move, be quiet. No, get off, don't. It's that. Yeah. All those thoughts are racing. And of course, my kids put their music on, one's watching them, and they checked out. I'm like, wait, don't leave me. My husband started to sleep, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So I just grabbed a magazine and started reading and just tried to keep busy. I
appreciate you sharing that because the person I flew with over the weekend, she was saying, she watches the show and people like you come on there and she says, for me, I need to know that because when we flew up there, she did fine, but she said, it's going to be a while before I get something like that. And that's really what happens. Yeah. But you've got that positive experience with you and you've done it once and you've got some tools. And I think the big thing that you emphasize here is to stay connected to the group. That's
Yes.
really helpful. That kind of support, and that's why we encourage people to join the Birds of a Feather group. And that's why if you're out there and you don't know what to do, take advantage of the 15-minute coaching call. Just check in and let's talk and find out what the next step for you might be. But any last words of inspiration to anybody out there who's thinking about coming to the class here in Phoenix?
Oh, I think the class you have to take it. It's amazing. It's a life changer. And just talking with Captain Ron and
I love this, and it's for people like you that I really pulls me back. It's just awesome to see raw courage, and I'm not kidding. The courage that you display, because you don't have to do that. You didn't have to get on that airplane, and I'm a combat veteran, but I'm telling you, that's nothing compared to when you see people in your state of mind that go through that there. So I just want to thank you. And again, for the courage that you displayed, for inspiring us here tonight, and for taking the time to talk to us. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey,
and also, like what Dieter said, you do feel shameful, and you just stop talking about it, and you see all family and friends traveling, and you just kind of avoid the subject because it's embarrassing.
Yeah. So, well, we hope
it is really life changing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, that's really what it is, and I think.
And we're going to do the class here in Phoenix in July 20th. We do have some people coming from LA already because they've got things that they want to fly before that. But the next one we're going to do in LA is on October 26th, and I hope we can have you back to be on the panel.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd love to be there.
Have a great night, and tell the media advisors there they did a great job getting you ready.
Thank you.
Hair and makeup was perfect. So,
thank you.
All right.
Bye.
So for everybody out there, we can't say enough. We just want you to come and put your bodies in our seats there. July 20th. We're gonna meet here at a hotel just south of the airport. I think we've still got, this is like the last week with the early bird fair or early bird.
We have for just over 4 days left.
4 days, that's right.
And so the link is already in the comments on Facebook, and I'll also put it to YouTube later as well. So why don't you quickly go through and tell us?
We actually spend probably closer to 5 hours in the classroom because we do a brief of the flight there, and it's Eric and I will be there all dressed up, so you can make fun of us there, and we'll have a group of people that just like you, like-minded people, and that's probably the best part of the class is doing it with a lot of other people like that, and be 100% prepared for all stages of your flight and your fright. We'll get you ready, okay? And it's just an amazing experience for people. We talk about all the issues: TSA, gate, boarding, door closing, turbulence, all those kinds of things. We'll give you the back story for all those things, super secrets and tips and strategies for coping with it. And
can I throw in 2 marketing plugs for you, Ron?
Okay.
Well, one, that was one of my first big classes, and the first time I've had a day to go on the flight. I've done the classes, but I haven't been able to fly. And it was such a tremendous experience for me. And I will say, we had, I think, 27 out of 29 people that had intended to fly flew. Yep. So it was tremendous. And we had another 20 in the class that just wanted to come to the class and get their feet wet, which was fine. But they felt remorse and regret leaving when they got all spooled up and had a bonding deal with the rest of the group that they didn't have a ticket and weren't going. I mean, they seriously
and they've both flown since. So
and
that's another thing.
There is no time that's too late or too soon to start this, but I think the average in that class for not getting an airplane was around 20 years. And I know people get sentenced to life for murder, and they get a law degree and an MBA and paroled on good behavior in less than 20 years.
And less
So
time.
if you've waited that long, you have waited too long. Don't do it any longer. Okay, I'm done.
You'll have the confidence that you can manage your anxiety. Remember, you're not going to get over your anxiety in overnight. But what you will get is the confidence that you can manage it. And that's the key. And it was one of my students there with the Southwest was having a big to-do one day. Okay, you need to know the confidence that you have confidence that airplanes and flying are safe. And as what these people did there's all our happy faces there from Burbank, the class that day. Just a great day with all those folks, and it can be you in that picture. So we really are looking forward to you coming that day. And there are bonuses. What we do is for those of you who want to fly that day, we have the 301 class, which we conduct right after that. So we'll be going from the hotel to the Phoenix airport, and we'll provide the transportation. You don't have to worry about parking at the airport. And we're going to go in and we're going to get on an airplane and we're going to fly to Las Vegas and back that day. And you'll get a pre-flight briefing, a very detailed briefing about what you can expect that day. All of us and Dieter and Eric, we're going to be making the flight with you. We'll have lots of coaches and guidance for you on the airplane. We'll do a post-flight debrief, and everybody gets a certificate of completion there. And if you fly with us on that day, instead of having to pay $197 for the tuition for that class, when we just do the class itself, you get that class as a bonus if you take the 201 in the morning, and it's only for that day. So if you want to fly with us, that's the time to do it. And bonus number 2 then is if you want to retake the class sometime down the road, you get to retake it for $197. That's $200 off of that. And again, you can fly with us on that thing, and it never expires. Okay, so you can do that as well. If you decide that it isn't your day, no big deal. We show you how to cancel your flight so that you can maintain that credit with Southwest. And as Eric pointed out, we had a couple people out of 29 over there that decided they didn't want to fly that day. But actually, both of them had identified themselves before we even went to the airplane. But they went over there anyway and showed up and like I said, they've flown in the meantime. So. The thing on the right there is what you want to really pay attention to. 100% money back guarantee. If you purchase the 201 class and you complete the 201 and the 301 class with us, and you're not 100% satisfied, we will refund your class tuition that you paid for 201 class. We don't refund the fare on Southwest because we're not big enough to do that, and we don't own the airplanes. But we will give you your money back for your satisfaction. It's however you decide that. So there is a 100% money back guarantee if you take the 201 and you fly with us in the 301 and you're not completely satisfied. We do that because we're that confident that it's going to be a life changer. You'll change your life that day. So we hope you come out, and we thank you for showing up with us tonight. I want to thank Eric, of course, for being really, really, really dedicated to helping us. He's a total volunteer. Dieter, again, all the work you do for me behind the scenes there. Sue, who's not on the camera, but does a lot of work for us as well. Diane, our resident flight attendant, used to be wannabe, now actually flying, and she won't be able to be with us because I just found out she's going to be on call that day.
Nobody will be left behind when Diane is on duty.
There you go. Diane will make sure that all the seats are empty. That's for sure. Yeah. But thanks everybody, and this is again, it's been Clear for Takeoff or Fearless Flight Live. Sorry. For this Tuesday night, and we'll see you back here next week at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So thanks, and have a great week. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.